And that's the thing I think that's very frustrating. Now, if they get a majority of liberal Republicans in there, then it'll be very interesting to see this, because then the conservatives will be showing up on the outside as voting against the leadership. But at this point in time, the majority, the 38, as they call themselves, are the conservatives in there. They're trying to follow the conservative agenda and follow the line. And yet they have members of their own party that are jumping ship and promoting it. And that's what this is all about. And it's not anything personal. They're very fine people. I don't have a problem with most of them. They're quality people.
When were you last in the House or Senate?
When I was last in the House, 9 sessions.
I was going to show them that you had a B rating.
Yeah, I caught a lot of crap for that because I crossed over more than I probably should have. But here again, we're not trying to be we're trying to simply educate people as to where their representatives are. That's the important thing. Okay, I guess, is there anything else we need to cover, Lonny? I think people can win this website. You can click on the names. You can go ahead and look at the bills. You can go through all of their bills and see where you agree with them and where you don't agree with them. It's a tool for you to use when you see what the partisan bills are. You have an answer, Quade. Go ahead.
Mr. Butcher, I was going to ask you, okay, so the Medicaid expansion was sponsored by my representative from Cascade County. And so it was a Republican-sponsored bill, and then the co-signers were Republican. If I would have been in the legislature and voted against it as one of the 38 special, would that have dinged me on
No.
There was
Yeah.
58 Republicans, 38 probably voted this way, and 20 voted this way. If this becomes the majority leadership
It's only the
bill,
majority. The majority of the Republican caucus, not the majority of the legislature.
Right.
It's the Republic. We're showing the people that are opposing their own elected leadership. That's what all we're trying to point out. And that's the Medicaid expansion, the classic bill.
it would show up as a plus if you voted against the Medicaid expansion on this system.
And how about all of the, so they amended it,
84 times.
84 times. So if I was voting, on the amendments, is that going to speed?
It shows a number of the
The floor vote amendments are also
floor
shown.
vote amendments,
The
right?
floor vote amendments
all there.
also. That's why you get so many votes.
Right.
Because amendments also show up. And the reason we count the first and second reading vote. The third reading is the final, there's no debate. Second reading is when everybody debates and then they vote. And then it goes the next day or whatever, 2 or 3 days later, they bring it up as third reading. There's no debate, you just get up and you vote however you want to. Well, you get some astute members who will go ahead and they'll vote in the second reading trying to kill a thing, or whatever way they're going. They'll vote with the Democrats. We'll say maybe they're supporting it, maybe they're opposed to it, whatever the bill is. They vote against it then they flip over when they realize it's going through, or they're not going to change it, then they vote with the Republicans. So you get a bunch of legislators that sit there and pontifically proclaim, oh yeah, I voted for that bill. Yeah, after you tried to kill it. See, and that's the problem that you deal with, and that's why we show all of the votes. That's why you got such high numbers of votes in here, more than there are actually bills, because we're going floor vote amendments. Anything that shows up on the computer, it pulls out where they vote. And this is not something we sit and do. It automatically pulls off the legislative website what the individual's vote actually was. Does that answer your question?
Yes,
Senator
sir.
Butcher?
Just a second. Let me finish up.
Just if I could just finish up, sir. Sorry. So, when I go to the site and I pull it off and I see, okay, like at the end of the session, there was A-rated people, B and C. It seems to me that, when I'm looking at that, it's the F ones that I'm really concerned about, because I'm a Republican voter. I'm voting for someone, I'm counting on them to follow the platform pretty close to the Constitution, pretty close. So when I see somebody that's way down there, then I know that something
Well, what
is
you need to do is you need, in your case, in a situation, you need to pull up the votes and click on the bill and read it.
And we
may
need to
agree
move
with
on.
what they're saying.
Yeah,
We're
come
not
on.
saying it's right or wrong. You may agree with that one, but at least you become informed as to why or which bills that they voted with the Democrats on to put it through.
And
Okay,
we
go
need to
ahead, you're
move
next.
on.
Yeah.
Senator Butcher, I had a chance to do some analysis based on the algorithm you're defining partisanship by, which, by the way, I sort of disagree with abortion bills being termed as nonpartisan. But be it as may, I used your own algorithm, and I found that there are just over 1,000 partisan bills that were acted on in the House. I think you're missing a bunch of bills. If you look at your 230 nominal bills, no Senate bills, and a whole ton of bills are missing. So this is a suggestion.
Its own side.
We have Senate has its own side.
No, I'm talking about Senate bills that are voted on in the House.
They're voting on your score.
They're not scored. There's not a single Senate bill, there is not a single Senate bill in your list of bills.
Okay,
So
again,
that's number one. So you're missing at least 700 bills, I think, because your algorithm probably wasn't run until at the end of the session.
No,
It's a
it's
fact.
continued. It's running all the
Number
time.
two, I have found bills that, including House Bill 9, there's a second reading passed as amended, went 35 Republicans voted for it, 23 Republicans voted against it. If you voted against the Republican majority in that particular case, that was good. You were a rhino if you were in the Republican majority. The problem with your algorithm is it has an internal bug that does bills like that. House Bill 2, second reading Senate
House Bill 2,
amendments.
we don't do House Bill 2.
Why not? There was
Because there's too
a
many.
partisan vote on House Bill, you said you look at every bill, including votes on amendments. House Bill 2, House Bill 710, which was requiring reporting of prescription drug cost information, passed on second reading with 34 to 24 Republicans voting. The 34 Republicans that voted for that would be graded as rhinos. I'm simply trying to be helpful here,
No, wait a
because I
minute.
think
Let me-
your algorithm has some errors. And finally, you have you make the assertion, you keep on making the assertion that somehow your Legistats reflects loyalty to the party platform. It absolutely doesn't. Read your own damned website. Legislate is mixed, and it's indexed, and I quote, does not reflect legislators' voting record based on specific issues in relationship to a party platform or their own social, constitutional, or fiscal ideologies. Sir, I am a solid Republican, I'm a member of the Solutions Caucus, I got a D in Legistats, and I refuse to allow people like you to define what conservatism means.
So HB2 is on.
Okay, the point is here, and you're just, I want to finish up with him. The point is, it says 50% or more. So there's a big gap in there of people who would fit in between. We're talking about the hardcore ones, when you have 50% going each way. In between, yeah, there's a lot of people that are voting. We're looking
Legistats
to
tells you
be.
nothing about someone's fidelity to the party platform. Your own website says as much.
Okay. I would stand
I mean,
corrected, it's a
if we're
Republican
making that,
majority.
You should remove that. If you want to keep on misleading people, you should remove that from your website.
Okay, let's just rephrase that and say that, again, what I pointed to, you voted against the majority of the Republicans in your caucus. That's what this is all about.
And on a vote-by-vote basis, I'd be willing to defend every one of those votes instead of this accumulation of a bogus statistical measure of loyalty.
And it's had her doing it for a long time.
What's that?
No,
Yes, she has.
I stood up at the beginning
You-
and you
you-
said you would give me a
Okay,
chance.
go ahead and get it, and then
to
we'll get, I don't want you to dominate, I want everybody
Well,
else to be,
and
obviously, you have an
I am a
axe
member
to
of
go.
this club. I am a legislator in this district.
We're
And
aware
I
of
am
it.
going to say what I have to say.
That's okay.
Okay, you made a number of misstatements when you said that this measures loyalty to the platform. It does not. And you just admitted as much. That we have a legislator who likes to say that your Legistats looks at every bill and aligns it to conservative principles, which is absolutely untrue by your own statement. So the problem is,
50% of the vote.
the problem is, it's being misused. Lonnie said we had 3 constituencies within the caucus, and yes, that's true. And if you look at the measure of all votes, it shows our leadership on opposite ends. It shows our speaker at one end of the vote and our majority leader at the other. It was not even possible to vote with leadership because leadership didn't vote with leadership. So, the problem I have is you portray this as if it is a measure of party loyalty, a measure of republicanism, somehow constitutionalism. 200 votes out of the 1,300 votes. What is not on here is so important. The budget bill, the only one that constitutionally we have to pass,
It is on there.
is not on here.
HB2?
But there's only an amendment to House Bill 2, and it's only one of the amendments when in fact, other amendments had exact same vote counts. So the amendment that you scored passed 41 to 58. There were other amendments there that passed 41 to 58 that don't show up. So there is in fact an issue with the program itself. And I think that needs a hard look. Pro-gun bills. The school marshal bill, that was so important. Solutions Caucus members, every single one of them voted for it. Doesn't show up on here. Not
So
even
did all the rest of the
scored.
Republicans though, right?
Not even, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it
You
does.
are- It does. You are leaving the impression that your rating somehow determines whether or not we are conservative enough. The major conservative bills we voted for, and you don't reflect that.
All we're reflecting is the ones that you voted against the majority of the Republicans in.
But the majority of Republicans always changes,
Well, that's
depending
right.
on who's voting for
That's
that
right,
bill.
but it's the
So-
numbers.
But I think you portray it as something that it is not.
Nancy,
So-
when you vote 31% of the time with the Democrats against the majority of the Republicans,
That's-
irregardless of the bills, that's the issue that.
No, it's because you have, because your hand-picked group of bills is gonna show one thing. If you show all the bills, it shows something totally different. Other major bills that were not even scored at all. Investigations of abuse in long-term care facilities, all of us said we cared about that. Inclusion of hydropower in renewable portfolio standards, we've been working on that since 2012. You don't even score it.
What was the vote on?
Protection of free
What was
speech
the
on
total vote on
college,
that?
protection of free speech on college campuses, that was so important to all of
But
us.
what was the vote on it
You
though?
don't even score
What
it.
was the vote?
It doesn't matter.
Yes, it does, because if you have more than
You're
51% of the Democrats and Republicans, it's a nonpartisan bill. That's why we give you
That's
the
my
latitude to vote for those bills.
That's my point. All the ones that are major Republican bills that we all care about and that we all follow, you don't show.
And so did the
You
Democrats.
don't show school funding, career and technical
And so did
education
the
that we've been
Democrats.
working on for so long. The rural airport infrastructure that's so important to this county, you don't even rate. Medicaid reform, the most controversial bill of this session.
Which the voters all rejected in the general
They
election.
did not. They did
63% of this county said no,
They
voted
rejected-
no.
They rejected also the fact that it was unconstitutional. They rejected also that it was paid for with tobacco money. If you look at Idaho, that put just the
That
bill
is
on,
just spin.
you'll see something different.
Spin, spin, spin.
Excuse me.
Nancy,
So my point is, this, how in the world can anyone take seriously? And I have a handout for anyone who's interested with all the things you did not score that were some of our most important things. How can anyone take this seriously when you do not even consider the most important, most impactful bills of the entire session?
HB2's there, but Nancy,
The amendment is there.
would you agree that there's been a change in your voting style?
I would agree that in this session, looking at a couple of very specific things that needed to get done, that were going to get done. I pushed them as
They were only gonna be
conservatively.
done because Lou
Hang
Jones.
on, no.
That's
this
right.
has
Exactly.
nothing to do-
That's it. There's one reason they were gonna be done, it's because of you guys. That's the
We
only
could have
reason
stood
we're
in
here.
unity against Medicaid expansion. We could have voted it down.
Nancy's made her point.
No, I'll make one statement and then I'll move
I
on.
wanna bring other people in. Nancy, you made your point.
I'll make
gonna
one.
jump into
no,
the
no,
middle
no.
of this.
Get the other
She's
people.
not supposed to be there.
I will make one statement and move
The
on.
people here. If we continue, this group will not be allowed to stay here.
That was
When
going
I
to
was
be
out
my
there,
point.
I was told.
Yes.
Okay.
And Ms. Hatter
So
held up
you
patiently.
Nancy,
You
Nancy,
have
you made your point.
successfully
Let the other people
thrown-
talk.
You
Edna.
have successfully put a wedge in the Republican
you-
Party.
No, it was you,
such that
Nancy.
the
You
Democrats will-
successfully put a wedge in the
Okay, you
Republican
made your
Party.
statement. Now, go ahead, Jim.
I'm Jim Shockley, and I don't think we ought to personalize. I'm Jim Shockley, and we shouldn't personalize it. That's right. Number one. Number two, I don't always support the Republican platform. I remember when the gold standard was in the Republican. I'm against the gold standard. So, a third thing is, a Republican bill is not always conservative. The best thing I ever did in the legislature, I think, was kill an intermediate court. Intermediate court between district court and Supreme Court. Carla Gray and Judy March were going to insert another court. That's stupid. The speaker threatened to fire me for killing it in committee, and that was a Republican bill. The Republicans, and I think the only person voting with me in the Senate was Joe Balliet. We were seatmates for 4 sessions. We subsidized a Canadian company building an electric. If they built an electric system to the coast and we didn't use any of the electricity, we were subsidizing them, and they were going through the state using eminent domain. Now that was a Republican bill, and Joe and I think were the only Republicans that voted against it. So to say it's Republican is conservative is not, and I don't think the party platform binds me. If you don't like the way I vote, don't elect me.
That's right.
And it's happened, by the way.
Our subcommittee asked us to sign on support.
One
for the
session,
platform.
I had, Nadelson said I was the 5th most conservative Republican in this particular session. I had 8 bills, this is before it was popular, to do something on the state level with illegal immigration. We controlled the legislature, 7 of them died in the Senate, leadership was against it, and they got the 8th one in the House. And that was before it's popular. So I don't like to hear conservative is Republican is the same thing. And I don't believe that the platform binds me.
Disagree.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, you're next. Go ahead.
Okay, so my name's Edna Kent, I live in Ravalli County, I'm a Ravalli County voter. My question is this, and I don't know, maybe this is something Terry can actually answer. There's just been all kinds of discussion and argument today about whether or not elected legislators are in fact adhering to the party platform. So I want to know what mechanism is in place to hold these people who win as Republicans accountable for their votes according to the party platform? Or is there even a mechanism in place? So you have a party platform and someone gets elected as a Republican, there's a party platform that they are asked to adhere to as they legislate and as they vote. And if they don't, does the Montana GOP do anything that would be, and I don't know that this is the right term, but that would be somewhat corrective and ask them, are you willing to adhere to the platform? If you're not, would you consider running on a different ticket? Because I just want to know, what's leadership of the Montana GOP doing to resolve this issue that we continue to see about adherence to the party platform versus go vote with another party because you really don't represent who we are collectively? I'm asking, what is the GOP doing?
I think he was, go ahead, you got a question?
No, he was gonna answer her.
No, answer.
Well, and maybe what I was gonna say might help answer it some.
Okay.
I think if you all just agreed with me, we'd do just great. But
Not gonna happen, there you go.
unfortunately, my wife doesn't even agree with me all the time, so. I don't know if you guys know this, but we do have a rift in the Republican Party right now.
Oh, yeah.
But we need to look at, I mean, one thing that Legistats, what I see on here is it goes back to 2005. Now, even doing Common Core math, that tells me that this goes back to when Schweitzer was in. And we've had 16 years of a Democrat governor. And we have infighting. I think the way to fix a lot of the infighting is to get a Republican governor. Now, the question is, are we going to continue infighting so that we get Cooney for the next 8 years? Or are we going to not worry about these differences that we have right now and come together and focus on getting a governor in Montana that will bring our party together? Because if we don't, what are we doing?
Very well stated. Yeah, you had a question.
Well, I just wanted to say something in answer to the question about the platform, because that is at the basis of a lot of the questions. The process that we use, and Terry, those of us who've been involved in it for a long time will tell you, it is definitely not the greatest process in the world. And the short version is, some of us, whoever wants to attend the convention, gets together at the event, you can sign up to work on the plank that you're interested in, you spend 2 or 3 hours in a room, making changes, crossing out thes, putting in whatever you want to do, and then after you spend all that hard work, you come together in the main room, and anybody can change all the work you just did. The way you change it is you simply go to a microphone and say, I propose or I make a motion to change this line and this line and this line, and if you get a number of votes out of the room, that gets changed. So the process for creating our platform is flawed in the first place. And there are those of us who work on this at the state level that know that and are trying to address it so that we have a better, more unified process. But because we have a flawed process, the answer is no. We have no way to have anybody, to hold anybody accountable, because most of our legislators, unfortunately, don't have input into the platform. They can if they want to come to the meetings, but they're not obligated to do so. And there is no process for them to sign on to the platform. And yes, in the state central committee meeting that we have afterwards, where we vote, if you have a vote, if you're one of the 4 people from each central committee that goes to vote, you can vote to accept the platform, but that doesn't mean you agree with it. And in most cases, most people don't agree with it. You know why they vote to accept it? Because the meeting's gone on so damn long they want to get out of there. So that's what we're up against. It's a flawed process, so anybody that says we have to adhere to the platform hasn't been there helping us write the platform. It has to be changed. Thank you.
Go ahead. You have it.
Our bylaws in Ravalli County Central Committee specifically state that our job is to find candidates, Republican candidates, that will support the party platform. That is the first objective in our bylaws. And our Ravalli County Central Committee does ask us to sign on in support of the platform. Sign our name in support of the platform, and we have refused to fund candidates when they have not done so. So that's the reality of our Central Committee situation.
Thank you. Go ahead. You had your
As far as the platform goes, there's a difference between 100% adherence to a platform and support of things in the platform. Because every single legislator in this room has violated the platform in one manner or another. There isn't a single legislator in the whole state of Montana that has complied 100% of the time any platform, because that is physically, emotionally impossible for a human being to comply with something like that 100% of the time. And you as an educator should agree with that, because you know it's human nature to not comply with anything 100% of the time.
I should apologize for using the term platform, because really this is geared toward the majority of the leadership in the legislature. And so here again, and I made the comment one time, if the Solution Caucus took over the whole legislature, obviously they would have a completely different approach as far as the majority, and they made it totally in violation of the bylaws of the platform, but they would be opposing, anybody conservatives who are opposing them would all of a sudden be on the same side of being opposed to it. So I really, next presentation I do, I will make sure I don't use the term platform, because that's not really what we're talking about. We're talking about those who vote against the majority of their Republican colleagues in the legislature. That's what it's all about. So it was an error on my part using the term platform. Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Alan.
The platform be damned. Every one of you take an oath to this.
That's
Constitution of the United States.
Amen.
That's what we have to follow. And let me tell you, this is the most abused document in the world right now. We have to have a government that follows this, or we don't have a government. We have a dictatorship. And this is where we're going. And if we can't get back to the Constitution of the United States, we are in deep doo-doo. It doesn't need amended. It needs followed and obeyed.
Absolutely.
We're really out of time here, guys. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to have Linda do the drawing and adjourn the meeting. If you guys want to stay and you guys let these guys continue, then we can do
I want to
this.
thank you for the opportunity to show this so that you at least know what this is all about, you know where to go, and then you can make up your own mind and your own decisions on whether it's valid or whether it isn't valid. I mean, some people are going to look at it and blow it all off and say it's totally invalid. That's not a problem as far as we're concerned. We just want to make sure that the people, the voters, know that there are a rift and that there's a handful that are supporting or going against the Republican majority. That's what the real bottom line is.
All right,
This is the law by Frederick Bastiat. That's a wonderful book. I thank you. I'm sorry this kind of got out of hand.
Can't say everybody's on fire
All right, guys.
Okay, pull out a number in there, everybody. $41 to the winner. All right. The last three numbers are 213.
These?
Yeah, 213.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and adjourn. If these guys want to stay, if you guys want to have a little bit more conversation, go ahead and fill. All right.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I enjoyed the discussion. The biggest discussion it needs.
Meeting adjourned.
Go ahead.
Something